All right, everybody, welcome back to the Two Dads Review. This is the official kickoff of us changing up our way we do things. And the first thing we're doing is Corey is not across the internet from me at his house. He's actually here at my house, sick as a dog, but finally dragged his ass over here.
Yeah, I figured I decided to be a friend for once and actually show up to something we've scheduled.
Well, you talk about cuddling all the time, and we finally get to, so I'm so happy. So I know we had teased doing Thor Ragnarok on Twitter and on the end of the last podcast, but we decided to jump over to Netflix, and so this episode we are going to review 1922, and in fact, we haven't watched it yet. We are sitting in front of my screen, getting ready to watch it. We wanted to go ahead and do our intro to everybody and kind of see what we think it's going to be like. We know it's going to be messed up because we know it's based on a Stephen King novella, so that's good. Before we jump in, don't forget to check us out at twodadsreview.com. Check us out at Twitter under Two Dads Review, pretty much anywhere you can find us. Don't forget to share with your friends, share with your social media, and we always enjoy you guys showing up, so let's kick this movie off.
Jesus Christ. I can't, that leg.
There's rats. We're seeing...
Yeah, so we're watching the little clips, and I keep looking up as Clay's talking, and there's like 100 rats on 3 steps alone, and there's something going on with this leg. Like, it looks like it's a bite or something, but it also looks like a spider's crawling out of it, legit. Like, that right...
Yeah, that's gross.
Yeah, like, so you were talking, and I'm over here, like, going... like every time it flicked over. It's so gross. We're gonna have to hit play because I gotta stop looking at it.
Yeah, we're gonna crank it up. So we'll catch you guys on the flip side of the movie. If you haven't watched 1922 yet, go ahead and watch it yourself, and we'll catch you on the other side and let you know what we thought of it. Okay, so we just finished 1922. I jumped over to the Rotten Tomatoes, Corey, just to see, because I wasn't quite sure how I felt about this as soon as the movie stopped. I wasn't sure. I'm like, I didn't hate it. I thought it was okay, but Rotten Tomatoes has this thing scored at an 88% fresh. Man, I mean, what do you think? Spoiler free. Spoiler free is this half right now. Spoiler free. Don't be blowing the plot yet.
I guess I can see it. On IMDb, it's got a 6.4 out of 10, which is
a little bit. That's probably more around what you were saying it was going to be at.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. I mean, the more I think about the film, I can't really say anything. There was nothing bad in the movie, right, where you're just like, what? Why?
Correct.
It was a good movie, but it was like watching not paint dry, but paint dry.
Like blood dry.
yeah, blood dry. Yeah, blood. There you go.
It was definitely one of the, and that's where part of me. Okay, so first things off, we both agree this is not a bad movie.
No, it's not a bad movie, but I think it's like if you go into hey, if you go in with the vibe of hey, I'm going to go check out a new movie today, you're probably going to be disappointed. Now, if you go in with the vibe of I'm ready to watch a movie and relax, then you're probably going to walk away from that film going, dude, that was deep. That was awesome.
Right. And number two, it's not like it's scary.
There's suspense and horror elements to it, but there's outside of the scary fiddles, there's not really, unless you get fazed by
things you can pretty much see on network television.
I was going to say, if you get bugged out by network news, then don't watch this movie.
Right. So, still staying in spoiler-free territory in case people haven't watched it yet. It's definitely not a movie to go see if you and your wife or significant other have just been fighting. Don't go, you know what, honey? Let's just table this fight and let's go watch this movie 1922. Don't watch this with her if you just got done arguing with your wife.
Yeah, really just don't watch it with any significant other, because that you may be in a bad mood with. It's just this'll what did he say? What did Wilfred say in the movie? There's two types of men in every person.
Right.
So you don't know which one might come out with this film.
Yeah, you definitely don't want her like sleeping with one eye open for a while.
Yeah.
So, because you can just read the tagline and know that it's about a man who plots to murder his wife in 1922. In the year 1922, he's a farmer. So, that's not breaking any sort of spoiler stuff. They pretty much tell you at the very beginning. But what the movie really is the downward spiral and the cleanup of that event that takes place. I don't know, in the first 20 minutes of the movie. It's not even. It wasn't a long movie. What was it, about an hour and a half, Corey?
I think it was $1:45.
$1:45. So it's $1:42 is what it says on IMDb. But yeah, it was it was good. So let's all right, so we'll go into spoilers now, so we're not having to talk around anything. So if you haven't watched it, you feel like sitting through a slow burn, that's suspenseful, has a bunch of fiddles and rats, man, turn us off right now and go back into it. And come back when you're done. But if you've watched it, we'll break into spoilers now. So you've been fairly warned. So the main character is who? Wilfred James.
Yeah. Then you have Arlette James. There it is. And then you got Henry. And then Henry and Wilfred pretty much become the main story.
Yeah, Henry is his 14-year-old son. So we all know how wonderfully obedient 14-year-olds are, no matter what age or decade you were living in. So it may start out, and that's one of the parts I did kind of. That was the part of the plot that I really enjoyed. So after, to skip ahead, after they commit the murder and they hide the body and things are going okay, then when things start to turn south, the son gets that teenage. Well, you don't want me to tell nobody, do you, Dad?
Yeah. He pulls the old trump card, like, hey man, you can't tell me what to do anymore because I'll just tell everybody we killed Mom. Right,
and I'm 14. No one's gonna care about me. They're gonna go after you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's one of those stories that starts out with, my first question is, if you hate the country so much, why the fuck did you marry a farmer? It's kind of like when you watch a cop show and the wife's bitching about how much he works. It's like, but he was a cop. Like, you knew what you were getting into when you started working, when you married him. Like, why did you marry a farmer?
Yeah, man. I mean, especially you had to have lived on a farm your whole life because that 100 acres came from your dad.
Right. So where did she get her? Because she's making dresses. She wants to be a seamstress. She doesn't like the country life.
She has she acts like they make her character like she grew up in the city, was taken out to the farmland, and then was like, oh shit, I hate this. Where it really, from my understanding, is based on what the story told me, she's probably a farm person her whole life. Like, so I get it, like, if you're tired of it, but like the just hatred she has for like the farming life, I just feels
disingenuous.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, but I've never been anywhere I've hated like that. I guess so.
Yeah, she loathes it. She loathes it so much that after the plot after Wilfred forms the plot of how he's going to kill her, he pretty much tells her that he's going to sell the place, he's going to become a mechanic, and she gets so happy they just get shit face on the porch, and she becomes completely. You see the true her almost, I think, and she was.
Yeah, I think that was a good sign of probably how she is more on a regular basis.
Was her drunk?
Because yeah, like just that. I don't even know. Like, it was creepy, is what it was. Like,
it was creepy.
She was super drunk, and then like the way she was talking to her son and stuff. Like, it was just, it made you go, I don't really mind them killing you. Not gonna lie, like they did a really good job of making you go.
Yeah, I can see where he's coming from.
All right, Molly Parker, like, I get it. They're gonna kill your character, no problem.
Yep.
You're doing a great job of making us not like you.
and inappropriate to the subplot of it, inappropriate towards her son to the subplot. Her son is dating the neighboring farmer's daughter. The neighboring farmer's name is Harlan Cotier, but is played by Neil McDonough, who plays Damien Dark on the CW Arrowverse universe over there, their television universe. He plays Damien Dark, but so the son is dating the daughter of that guy, and the mom, while she's drunk, is like, "Don't stick it in, but you better know the color of her nipples."
Yeah, like she said, "Don't use your willy, but if he doesn't know the color of your nipples, then my son's slow."
Yeah, something like it was
Like,
it was really like, wow,
man.
he's not gonna have a hard time helping dad either.
Yeah. I mean, because that was really all he did to convince his son was like, you know how she is. Like, basically, that's what he did. He was like, you know how she is.
Right. When it takes that little convincing, well done on the direction, the right, and the guy who directed this movie, by the way, is a guy by the name of Zach Hilditch, who until now has done a few Aussie films, mostly shorts. He's not super old or anything, but he's written everything he's directed. So he wrote this as well as directed it. The screenplay, at least. We know it's based off a Stephen King novella, but he did a pretty good job of it made it real easy where it's like, well, yeah, we can kill her. That's fine. Let's see where this goes from here. Let's crank this up.
Yeah, definitely. There was no part of me at any point where I was like, man, they're gonna kill it. Like, that's his wife, dude. Like, it was like, nah, you guys need to go ahead and get this ball a rolling. Let's right. Like, she can't be around much longer.
You guys don't have a TV or radio or anything to drown her out, so yeah, you're gonna need to kill her.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So let's move on then. So that brings us to the actual murder, which in the book of how not to murder somebody, he thought a whole bunch about convincing him, but he didn't really put a whole lot of thought into how we're gonna do it.
Yeah,
they got her drunk. And then, the son's like, why don't we just smother her with a pillow? And he goes, no, that'll be too slow. It needs to be quick.
Yeah, and then what did they end up doing? Wrestling with her for 5 minutes and a couple stabs, and then he finally got to her throat?
Yeah, he had the kitchen knife. They had a burlap sack, like a potato sack, and the boy was going to hold it over her face, I guess. And truth be told, I don't know why, other than to keep her held down. But in that case, he had it like he was gonna prisoner of war bag her head, but he should have just held it across her head to keep her head down. But they just did everything completely wrong, and I'm surprised the boy didn't get cut in the middle of it. In fact, that'd have been a cool plot point if he had because his son's arms were right there by her neck, and he was slicing at her neck trying to get it with the knife, and I was like, he's gonna cut the kid. And so I thought actually he was going to cut the boy's wrist in the process of nick his wrist in the process of cutting her, and then have them both dead. And then that would have been crazy. Then
the movie would have just been over.
Well, the subplot, yeah, for sure. But him trying to hide him grieving over his son, what he did, but also being out of the way of his wife, and then trying to cover all that would have been insane. Sorry, that just popped in my head. I was like, wow, if he had cut him and killed him too on accident, he had to stop the bleeding, he couldn't stop the bleeding from cutting his wrist. That'd have been insane. Anyways, that's not what happened. The boy comes through completely fine. I'm gonna write this movie now. But he finally gets her throat slit, which took forever, and she dies. And they bag her up and take her down to an old, I don't know if it's a drainage well or what kind of well it was, but it was a well of some sort. But it had that, that water tube that fed all the way to where the cows were.
It was probably an old barn well, and then it just dried up.
I'm not sure how wells work, so I don't know. When it comes to why that, the bottom pipe, that's where all the rats were getting to. But anyways, the boy passes out dragging mom to the well.
Oh yeah, dude, he just collapses. Not even not okay. All right, everybody, you're gonna have to use your imagination here, because imagine yourself carrying a body, and then simultaneously, as you go to take your next step, your entire body just goes limp and you fall face forward. Because that is the only way to describe how he collapsed. There was no carrying a body, tripped a little, hit a knee and then went to the ground. It was straight walking to the next step and then face planting in the ground.
If you're a wrestling fan, it's a Flair flop. It's a Ric Flair drop. The old classic Ric Flair flop. Yeah. So he's out. The husband, Wilfred, gets her in the well, and then like even when he gets her to the well, like her hand like pops out, and he like nicely puts it back under the blanket they have her wrapped in.
I like how he's like, oh, there you go. Yeah. All right.
Oh yeah, let's not forget that we should both be doing this podcast with our teeth clenched, never moving them, because I don't think Patrick Jane moved his teeth apart the entire movie.
Thomas Jane?
Did I say Patrick Jane? Thomas Jane. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of Patrick Jane was Mentalist, the character Mentalist. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. I was like, wait a minute, that does sound familiar though.
Yeah, Thomas Jane. He didn't move his teeth apart the entire movie. He just talked like this.
Mm-hmm. Like super clenched.
To the point where I turned on closed captions halfway through the movie so we could actually understand everything that he was saying. Not that he was. I mean, he was doing like a. He was really into his part. Like he was going for it, which is great. The guy's done 3 different Stephen King movies and is a go-to actor when it comes to Stephen King stuff. But he was going for that like 1922 out on the farm, poorly or not educated, like speak. And to the point where I'm like, I think he's saying things that may be important that we're missing in his grumbles. But someone who has the script is writing out the closed captions, so we're going to go with that and turn it on. So if you haven't watched it yet, turn on closed caption when you watch it. It actually there's actually a lot more that gets explained under grumbles that you'll read the screen and go, that's not what he said, but I'll go with it. So yeah, their whole plan is to put her in the well. But not cover the well yet because it would look suspicious if they just started filling a well in for no reason.
Yeah.
Because the story they're saying is that she just took off in the middle of the night, even to the point where he tosses down a suitcase with like a packed amount of items that someone who was fleeing in the night would take. So he didn't like take all the stuff. He took only one pair of shoes, which he actually took the wrong pair of shoes, because that's one of the things that kind of throws the police officer in his direction, is he left like well-worn in shoes, and she's like supposedly took off in her moccasins, which is what she was wearing to bed, I'm sure. You know? Yeah.
I would, but I guess the only argument is, I guess she just took him to be more quiet.
Right. She's not going to be, and that's what because they're walking around that house. You're not walking with those heavy ass boots in that house without waking somebody up.
No, I mean, you couldn't open a fucking door in that house without it creaking to holy hell, man.
Yeah,
like every door in that house was like
every door. Yeah, and then but. It was kind of cool to see, because part of the stuff he was, when he went to pack up the suitcase and chuck it down in the well with her, like the rats had starting to get to her to the point of like crawling out of her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's some rats in this movie, folks. There's some rats in this movie, and he's like mad at the rats, like hollering at him, like chucking the suitcase down at her. Not to mention her head is back and exposed and literally looking from the bottom of the well.
Him.
Yeah. It was there was a couple of nice, it wasn't scary, but it was definitely like suspenseful / and they had they utilized fiddles and some other like standard spooky noises to kind of just build the suspense.
Dark ominous tones.
Right. So they have the cop comes out looking because she was trying to sell the land, at least her father's portion of the land. She had hired a lawyer. He comes looking for her, and then he brings the sheriff with him the next time, or sends the sheriff to, and they're playing the part. The father and son are playing the part really well, and no one seems the wiser. They never get caught, to be completely honest. Then what does it break down from there? After they start the cow. Go ahead, Corey. Tell about the cow.
Oh yeah, man. Okay, so this cow is a trip. So to further along the of why they need to fill the well in, they bring on what looks to be a 600 to 800 pound cow. This cow is gigantic. And so they get it up on top of the well. The well's still boarded over, got like its cover. And Wilfred's like beating it with his hands, trying to get it to like break. And you can hear the thing cracking. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it breaks. and this CGI cow just goes tumbling straight to the bottom of this well, and like all you hear is because it doesn't die
on impact.
So he's got to go run and grab the gun and like put off a round into the well to kill this damn cow.
Poor cow. It's not his. That's not the cow's fault. He had to murder his wife. So then they went ahead and filled it in anyways. That was their whole like fill in portion. And then he starts, and pretty much when they start filling the well in is when he starts like losing his mind, like rats wise, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because the cows are losing it in the barn, and he finds out like the tube that's from the bottom of the well leads out to the barn section, and so like he fills that in with concrete because all the rats, and it smells real bad because there's like dead and decaying shit in the at the other end of it. But then he's at the point where he's seeing his wife like throughout the house in like little snippets here and there, like she'll show up behind a door or out in the yard, like, and he's starting to lose his mind. The boy is starting to break down, and then we find out is that when we had the second part of the plot, the big portion.
Yeah.
So we find out that even though his mama said not to, which is exactly what Wilfred said. He was like, your mama said a lot of things, but you should have listened to at least this one.
Yeah.
Don't get your girlfriend pregnant. And they, they're pregnant. They decide to,
Run
the boy
away
does
together.
you can't tell me what to do, but, kid thing, especially when you definitely, aren't going to tell me what to do because I was going to go tell someone you killed mom. So you're going to, so he takes off in the middle of the night. He takes the truck. In fact, they were out in town somewhere, I think. And like, he just like left a note.
They just like left a note that he bailed, and then he breaks her out of the quote unquote
commune,
the quote unquote not orphanage,
right?
And
nunnery.
So, and then apparently before he breaks her out, he'd already been kind of robbing a few people to get some money.
Mm-hmm.
And then they become the Sweetheart Bandits.
Yeah, they become like a famous, famous in the area, like set of bandits that are robbing banks and diners and places like that. And it's becoming close to wintertime. And actually, it is wintertime because one of we see like a montage of their robbing escapades, and we see at the very end of the montage that a cook or somebody in a diner gets to step on them as they're leaving and shoots at the couple. Doesn't hit the boy, but it hits his girlfriend.
Hits his pregnant girlfriend.
Girlfriend.
Yeah.
Shannon is her name, by the way. Hits her and
kills the baby.
Kills the baby. He's trying to get her to a hospital. It's snowing. It's a bad snowstorm. He's trying to get her somewhere for help, and they end up wrecking on the road because of the snow. And he just takes her to some abandoned farmhouse type thing in the middle of nowhere. Makes a fire. As he's making the fire, she dies. She tells him before she dies that the baby's dead. It's pretty rough. And he just curls up next to her and. You don't see it, but you see the aftermath. He curls up next to her and he blows his brains out.
Because he makes a comment before to his dad that, or in the note, I think. Wasn't it in the note where he was like, a life without her is not a life worth living?
Right, exactly. So they were, hard place, hard time, teenage couple, robbing banks, and then she gets killed and he can't take it. So it's pretty sad. And they find the body. The authorities find the body and bring him back to the town, and Wilfred has to identify the body.
Yep.
And shoo, boy, they did not prep. These days they at least prep you. He was not warned, like, oh, by the way, because he tells him afterwards, like the rats got to him.
Yeah,
and that just sends him into a tailspin. Really, he's just, he's like, you're gonna fix him up, and the guy's like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah, you're gonna fix him up. You understand?
He's like, you're gonna buy a good coffin. You're gonna give him your best coffin. And they show both funerals and Shannon's funeral with Harlan, her dad. I mean, the place is packed. It's a nice service. And then I think Wilfred says in an inner monologue, he's like, the attendance for Henry's funeral was a little less, and it's literally just him.
Yeah.
And like and he turns around and his wife's ghost is all rotted and sitting in the back pew as well.
With all the rats.
And the rats are there, right. So yeah. So they're both dead. But the hunt for then that's right. So after the funeral, after all this has gone down, Police Work 1922, we're just going to call it that. They find the sheriff comes to tell him pretty much soon.
Oh, God, I totally forgot about
I was
this
trying
part.
to figure out like how the show wrapped up. But the sheriff comes to tell him, "Hey, we found a body in a ditch. Just a ditch. I'm guessing somewhere within walking distance of the town." He says, the corpse was ate up pretty bad, but she was missing both back teeth. Was Arlette missing her back teeth?"
Yep. And then he's like, And then the sheriff's like, "Well, there you have it." Like, that was his response. Like, there you have it.
Case closed. Some poor lady is now your. Yeah. I mean, that's. Oh man, that's great. I mean that part was so he's officially gotten away with it. Yeah. And he is free of it. And where does he go from there? Because this movie is actually him telling the story.
Because when when the sheriff tells him, he's already in the hospital himself because he froze out in the farm and like got bit by that rat and they amputated his hand and all that
that's
stuff.
right. We skipped over that whole part. Yeah, there's a rat that bites him and his hand goes bad and they had to cut it off.
Yeah.
Even to the point where he goes over to talk to when Wilfred goes over to talk to Harlan, his neighbor farmer, the guy whose daughter was the dead daughter's dad. Harlan says, we both, us men, we started out the year with wives and we ended the year without our wives because Harlan's wife left him. And he said, we're both men that started out the year with children and we don't have children anymore. He's like, but I've got my hands at least.
Yeah, he's like, I still got two hands, so there's that. I guess
I've got that going for me.
Yeah, and then Wilfred like looks down and like slides his nub like under his hat.
He's like, my poor nub.
Yep.
So the whole story is being told from an older Wilfred in a hotel in a I guess it was like the 30s
in Omaha,
Omaha somewhere, and so we keep flashing back to him telling the story, and he keeps hearing rats, he keeps hearing them in the walls, and then at the very end of the movie, the rats get through the walls, and then he turns around and it's the three corpses of his wife, his son, and the girlfriend. And what's the son say to kill the show? He said,
"Don't worry, it'll be quick." Because that's
what they said to him. Yeah, what his dad said to him. So, I mean, it didn't. I wouldn't say the movie dragged. I almost felt like that's the movie. That's where it cuts to black and we go to credits. So that's the whole movie. So it's not that it dragged, but it is definitely a slow burn. I think what it lacked was like there could have been a big finish. There could have been like it was all building, and I felt it was building, and then it just kind of was like, nope, that's it. He gets away with it. Now we see how old he is, and then the corpses show up. I mean, I almost felt like the corpse part was. Did it feel forced to you a little bit?
Well, no, because like the whole when he's having that whole narration about like his son's robberies and all that, like the only reason he knows that is because the ghost or corpse or whatever of his dead wife was whispering it all to him.
Right. Yeah. He spends. That's right. We skipped over that part. We'll mention that real quick. Go ahead.
Well, that part. Okay, so. Basically, what happened is Wilfred's on the farm during winter. He's basically going crazy. That's where he loses his hand, gets bit by a rat, so that even like furthers his dementia because you watch his hand basically go
necrosis.
Yeah, and he keeps seeing his wife here and there, sporadically, and finally it builds up to where he's like trying to go downstairs. He falls down the stairs, and lo and behold, she's standing at the top of the steps and she's walking down towards him. And then all of a sudden she starts whispering in his ear and like his face is just like terrified. And then that's when you see the visual cues of like his son's robberies, like his death, all the way to the end. And then basically once that all wraps up, you wake up, you come back to with Wilford in the hospital because the sheriff found him.
That's when the sheriff is there. So that's what happens in there. Yeah. Forgive us, guys. We haven't reviewed movies before. We've been mostly TV show, or we've been all TV shows. So we're trying to, it's not the kind of note taking I want to, I don't want to step through it like that because we don't want to be on the, we don't want to give you guys 2-hour podcasts all the time, only for Star Trek shows. But so that's how it ends up with that portion of it. And it was like, the wife was telling him all of the stuff that his son was doing up until his death, and so I guess part of me is like, are we supposed to, because it's Stephen King, you're allowed to throw out anything realistic if you don't, or anything that's like, is she a metaphor? She's probably not a metaphor. She probably is a ghost who's telling him what she knows. Do the ghost end up killing him at the end, or is that just his dementia and we know he's going to kill himself shortly in that hotel room? At which point are we looking at actual supernatural because it's a Stephen King book, or
I think we're looking at actual supernatural because you just look at the way he wrote it in the letter. Like he said, she wouldn't stop until she was satisfied. Like he was talking like she was fucking within inches of him, so whether
because he was begging her to kill him. He's like, just kill me, Arlo.
Yeah, and she wouldn't, and he said she wouldn't until she was satisfied. Right. So I think we're under the impression that he is genuinely being stalked now by his victims. Pretty
supernatural, supernatural ghosts / demons.
And he's gone crazy enough in the book. It leaves it open to interpretation. Like, is that guy going to be bonkers? And in my head, I'm like, nah, dude, you were talked to by a real zombie ghost. And this zombie thing is now coming to get you because you were a piece of shit and killed everybody.
and the worst part is, or the best part of the story that makes it the worst, is that as you're watching the movie, you don't look at him as a bad guy. Like, he's at a man who's at the end of his road. He's got nothing. He's like, all I have is his farm. They don't want to sell out to this big, were they a pig farm? Was it a pig? It was some big company. They don't want to sell out to a company, so they're closer to the interstate, stuff like that. Or train line or something. But you don't look at him as a bad guy. So part of it, and I guess the movie, we can't hate on the movie at all because I've spent, we're recording this a day after we watched the movie, and I've spent the entire time thinking about the movie. Like, I've been on my mind the whole time. So I guess that's what movies are supposed to do. So,
yeah, like, no, it's not a bad movie. It's a slow burn. Like, you got to be ready just to kind of sit there and almost veg out and just watch take it all in. Yeah, but if you're going into watching this movie with any kind of mindset other than meandering, like. And I just say meandering because it's just like if you went for a long walk and you had really no place to go. Like, that's the kind of vibe this movie's for. But if you're thinking some kind of action or comedy or anything with like a title outside of moderate suspenseful, right? Like, you're going to be like, you'll be disappointed. You will. But I think if you just watch it like in kind of like we did, where we're like, okay, we're just going to watch it to watch it, then it's a good movie the more you think about it. Yep.
All right, so wrapping this up. So you gave it on Twitter while we were watching it, what, a 6 out of 10?
Yeah, that's where I'd leave it.
You're going to leave your score to 6 out of 10? I'm going to give it a 7 just because I've thought about it so much. Because it made me think, and some movies I watch and just they get dumped after I'm done watching them. This one I was thinking, I'm like, what do I think about? How do I feel about this movie? So I'm going to give it a good 7. It's a good watch. Just don't watch it with your loved one.
Yeah, just significant other, man. Just you guys, either separate houses, separate rooms. I wouldn't watch it together, especially if you guys have been arguing.
For sure. So, okay, well, that wraps up our review of 1922. I know we had talked about doing Thor, but that just didn't come out. It wasn't going to happen. But
no, I just was too sick on a regular basis to make it happen. Hey, no, dude. I mean, like, I don't
telling
feel,
the truth.
Yeah, like I don't feel bad about it. Like I can't control it. I was sick.
we've mentioned your stomach, your gastroparesis before. Yes, Corey was sick, so we couldn't get out to the theaters to watch it. So we picked the Netflix one. It was nice and easy.
I got. You know, Clay's house is a comfortable bathroom. Just I don't feel weird over there if I get sick. So you know, we may be doing a little more Netflix vibe.
You can puke at my house whenever you want to. But be on the lookout next week, guys. We are going this weekend, which is the weekend after opening weekend because we're dads and don't want to deal with all the crowds. We're going to go see Justice League, and we will come back to you next week, the week after Thanksgiving, with our Justice League review. And I cannot wait to watch this movie. I loved Wonder Woman. I didn't hate BVS, and I didn't hate Superman, whatever they called it, Superman Begins or whatever it was called. So, you know, I'm excited for Justice League. I don't know, Corey, what do you think about Justice League?
I'm kind of impartial to it, man, just because, like, the whole DC universe just gets flip-flopped upside down all the time. Like, where the Marvel side, like, they've built a continuity between everything, and, like, I like that. Like, I like to know that, you know, for the most part, that this actor is going to carry it out throughout the sequence where... Like DC, it's like every time I turn it on, I'm like, it's a new Batman. Or they're like, we may need a new Batman now because no one wants it. Or they're like, well, Superman, ho-hum, we may change that up. You know, like Jason Momoa now, like, made the rapist comment 3 years ago. We need a new fucking Aquaman. Like, you know.
He'll stay. He's fine.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But it's just like every time I turn it on, I'm like, can you guys just fucking get a crew together that's like cool? And do it, because it's like DC decided to open all their floodgates. I mean, like, even like the Suicide Squad, like there's a different Joker, like, and they get all these different directors in and everything. And I'm like, come on, man, like give me a little bit of fast food chain restaurant, man. Like lock somebody in for like 5 films and build something.
Right. Well, they're trying to catch up. They didn't realize they are DC EU is a day late and a dollar short, because Marvel's been doing it for a lot more years than they have, and they're trying to catch up. And, you know, it's taken Marvel...
You know, if they could have kept Christian Bale on board and kept rolling with that Batman-style filming right there, and Heath Ledger wouldn't have died, and you could have had a Joker, and you could have brought in Superman, like... You would have had like Heath Ledger dying and Christian Bale going, I don't want to be Batman anymore. Right. Like, fuck DC so hard. And we're basically on a whole nother podcast now. So I love everyone. You guys are great and wonderful. And
we'll
thank you for listening.
We'll pick up this conversation on next week's before we go over the movie. Yeah. Okay. So we won't keep you guys. We will definitely talk. So you know that we have a lot to say about any of the superhero movies and extended / universe, the universes that are happening. So we will definitely pick up this whole conversation next week's podcast. Stay tuned. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at 2dadsreview. And you could always head over to 2dadsreview.com and catch any of our links to where you can hear us or our social media or our, you know, anything's there. So we thank you guys for listening to this review of Netflix 1922, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Later, guys.